An eye-opening story emerged in recent days of an Israeli citizen who was among some 7 people charged by U.S. prosecutors this week with smuggling sensitive electronic components, as they were termed, to Russia, used to make nuclear weapons, hypersonic weapons, quantum computing parts. Now, U.S. prosecutors claim the group worked with 2 Moscow-based companies controlled by Russian intelligence services. Now, the notable individual to us is 35-year-old Alexei Brayman, who holds Israeli citizenship. He resides in New Hampshire, where he's currently on home arrest, if I have the details right. But to get into this story, the wider picture that it draws in, we're joined in the studio by Neri Zilber, adjunct fellow at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy, international security analyst. Neri, good to have you with us again. I mean, this indictment, jumping right into this, cited by CBS, I think, saying Brayman, repeatedly used his home, I think, as some sort of transition point for parts. I don't know what, gathering these sensitive electronics, shipping them out to locations in Europe and Asia onto the Russians. How bad does this all appear to be? Do we know how he got bought into the scheme? What's known about this guy?
We don't know too much just yet beyond the reports that we saw, over the last day or two. A couple things stood out. Number one, he holds Israeli citizenship. It's still unclear how strong his ties are to Israel. Obviously, especially Jews or people of Jewish descent from the former Soviet space might have moved here early on in their lives and then left again. So it's unclear how strong those ties are.
If this is just a technical detail in his background, or if he's more active Israeli than we know.
Exactly. Number two, the fact that he was living in New Hampshire. So he's supposedly or ostensibly or allegedly conducting this international arms deals from inside the United States, especially to Russia. Doesn't seem that smart or that sophisticated. Again, we have to wait till more details emerge. And then number three, it was interesting to my mind that this alleged plot to funnel these sophisticated pieces of hardware to Russia predate the war in Ukraine. So I think it goes back to 2017. But also, according to the indictment, they conducted or continue to conduct these sales after the invasion, which I think is important.
Sell. Okay.
Exactly.
It draws to mind, where's Israel's part in this? Maybe was the Mossad tracking this guy? Or what do we know about how Israeli intelligence is involved or not involved in these efforts to curtail Russian activities right now? Is this a gray area for Israel, a sticky subject? Or how does Israel fit into this?
So I'll start with the covert. Mossad, the Israeli foreign intelligence arm, I think ever since the Jonathan Pollard scandal, and it was a scandal in terms of an Israeli or Jewish American spying on behalf of Israel inside the U.S. government, for the best part of we know, those efforts by the Mossad inside America have stopped because it did cause a lot of damage in U.S.-Israel relations, especially to the American Jewish community. So that's just in terms of the covert side of the ledger. On the overt side of the ledger, look, since the invasion this past February, Israel has been trying to dance through the raindrops to walk this very fine tightrope between Russia and what Israel views as its strategic tie or interests vis-a-vis Russia in regards to Syria, freedom operation, bombing Iranian targets there, for all we know, and then as well as the Jewish community inside Russia. That's how Israel views its strategic interest after the war started. But also, on the other hand, Israel is part of the liberal democratic West, a strong ally, obviously, of America and of various European states that are in now semi-open conflict in Ukraine against Russia. So it's a tightrope that Israel is still walking.
Tightrope. Maybe this is an answer in brief, but we've seen so many examples of the last 20+ years of such high-level, top-level coordination between Israel, the U.S., seemingly in lockstep when it comes to major strategic issues. Obviously, how to tackle Iran nuclear issues may be somewhat different, but are we still seeing tight top-level intelligence sharing, defense security coordination? What do we see going on between Israel and the U.S. right now?
Those ties are stronger than ever, both in regards to the military sphere and with regard to intelligence sharing. We just have to look at the fact that Israel, with U.S. encouragement and support, is now part of the Central Command,
part of
CENTCOM of the U.S. military. That has never happened before, ever since Israel was created, ever since CENTCOM was a thing. So that's new, and that's only by the week and the month growing tighter in terms of both Israel and America in the Middle East, and also America's Arab partners in the Middle East, and Israel plays into that as well. Intelligence sharing as strong as ever, if not stronger. Again, the highest levels of the Israeli government and the highest levels of the American government talk on a regular basis on a whole host of strategic
we see those meetings openly in D.C., the U.S.,
all the time.
Israel. Remarkable. Anyway, good to have you with us. Neri, shed some light on these issues here. We'll keep following any developments from these intriguing stories. Neri Zilber, thanks for joining.